Thank you for tuning in to part 2 with Wendy McGee. We left off asking Wendy, what was it like being an entrepreneur while you were raising your kids, attending soccer game, dance lessons, and all of the things that come along with being a mom?
Well, I don't know why. Maybe because as the older we get, Tab, don't you think when you look back on seasons of your life and times in your life, like my emotions are always so high right now. Maybe it's the 50s staring me in the face. Maybe that's like the reason. But it was awesome. It was awesome. Like, it was worth every bit of financial maneuvering, late night, working on things after the kids went to bed, pain, worry, anxiety, everything that you do to have your own business and to be home, it was worth it. And, from the time, so when I was about 8 months pregnant with McKenna, so after my divorce, I was single for about a year and a half, and then I met Kyle, my husband, and we got married about a year later. So Kaylee was almost 3, and I got pregnant right away with McKenna. And when McKenna was about to be born, she was about 2 months from her being born. When Kyle and I were dating, I started Precious Impressions, which was my business. And I was single. I was living in a condo in Orem. I was working 3 days a week as a dental hygienist, and I decided to start this little company. And it was so fun. Like it was almost like watching another little child grow, like another little baby grow. And it was exciting because I could see that in a matter of months, maybe a year, I was going to be able to quit my dental hygiene job. And so then when Kyle and I got married, I got pregnant, and I thought, you know what? And I put a timer on it. I'm like, okay, I am not taking a second child to daycare. And I told Kyle that. I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but I'm going to work my fanny off, and I'm going to get us to the point where it at least replaces my dental hygiene income. And it literally was so fun. I mean, Kaylee was free. She would sit down there with me, help me package up the powders. So Precious Impressions, just in a 30-second thing, it's a dental impression material that, you put in your mouth. When you get an impression and it gags you and runs down your throat, and you're like, oh, for, different types of dental work. Well, the dentist that I had worked for as a hygienist would have us do little 3-dimensional casts of babies. New patients that had new babies would come in, and we would make these little 3-dimensional castings from an impression. And one day I was talking to my dad, and I'm like, oh, you can't buy this stuff in the craft store. This is the coolest thing. Like, people can totally do it at home. It's not that hard. And that's when the idea was born. And we ended up building that into literally a line of 10 products that we ended up getting into Walmart, into Michael's. I did QVC for about 3 years, and all the time with my little kids. Like, I would fly to QVC. I was pregnant going to QVC. I can remember going back to a meeting with the buyer at Target in Minneapolis, and I was about 7 months pregnant with Trevor. It was freezing cold, and, going into this meeting, and hey, I don't know anything about, shipping product into Target, but here's my products, and I'm already in these stores, and I'm going to learn. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And, being able to be there for everything in their lives, never having to have somebody else tell me that I had to change my schedule to be with my kids. If Trevor was sick in the night, I was there. If McKenna needed me in the day. And I hauled those kids everywhere. And you know that because when I sold Precious Impressions and started with Heritage Bakers, I took my kids to everything. Right. Our kids came to everything. I brought kids to parties. I was and I would tell my team, this is why I do this. So if you don't like that there's a car seat here, I don't really care. This is how we do it in this team. We're trying to be, the season of my life then was, I'm a mom that my kids need all the time. There's no schedule when your kids are little. They need you all the time. And I can remember doing buyer calls and meetings and packing product with, McKenna on my lap and Trevor on my lap and Kaylee on the floor, and then pretty soon Delaney, in the car bouncing on the desk. And it was my dream. Literally, that was, that was literally been the dream, because it was. And I would have people say, "Oh my gosh, isn't your life so crazy and hard and hectic?" And I get to lay down on the couch in the afternoon and put my babies to sleep, and then get up and go work on my company. Scary. So anyway, it was awesome.
So blessed for sure. I love that. And I've heard just in this little short, conversation, the seasons, as far as going to college and then dental hygiene and then starting your own company, that was successful. Then moving on to direct sales. Those are all seasons, all changes that took place, and they all came at the perfect time. I also heard the seasons that change in our lives as far as marriage and had a baby and then divorced and you were single and then, trying to start this company so that you could be a successful single mom and meeting the love of your life, and which is my next wonderful topic, because we are so blessed. We've been blessed to be able to raise our babies. And I remember doing hair with my babies in car seats and walkers. And we ate, slept, and breathed hair in our house. But that was fine. My clients didn't mind that there were Cheerios on the floor with the hair that was on the floor. But we definitely have also been blessed with some very supportive men in our life. And so I want you to just hit on marriage for a minute. You had a shaky, rocky marriage. You and I have so much in common because I also went through a divorce. But, a rocky marriage and scary, and divorce is scary. And then, thank goodness the new season came along and you met Kyle. And so kind of share with us a little bit about your marriage and the support that you've had from Kyle, because I think that's really important.
Well, I will tell you this. I could never have done what I've done as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur. I would never have been able to have that time with my little kids, with our little kids, without Kyle's support. And literally from, I can remember when Kyle and I were dating, I can remember the night that I had to tell him that I had $34,000 in debt with Precious Impressions, that I had a credit line with Science Bank, and I had $34,000, and I thought, I'm going to tell him this, and he's going to run for the hills. Like, I seriously did. I thought, I am a single mom, $4,000 credit line, and a dream for a company that basically is like, are you kidding? You really think that can work? And I can remember sitting with him in that condo in Orem and being so scared to tell him. He is going to be like, later. I'm not interested anymore. And it didn't even faze him. Like, he seriously was like, awesome, let's go. Like, let's go. It's fine. And I remember thinking, wow, like, okay, if I'm the one doing the little check card, you just pass like 5 things right there, because that's like huge. And so, when Kyle married me, I was already in the throngs, or in the, I don't know what that word is, but in the, like, I was already building this new business. I was trying to be a stay-at-home mom and a single mom at the same time. Like, I wasn't relying on anyone else. I just had decided, you know what, I hated taking Kaylee to a babysitter, and I was missing out. And so that's why I started Precious Impressions with my dad and with my brother. And Kyle just accepted it all. He was like, okay. And then another difficult conversation when I'm 7 months pregnant. I have great insurance. He has his own business with his family, which is insanely awesome, and has literally, like, been our foundation and our rock for our whole marriage as far as financial. And I said, I want to quit my job as a hygienist. I want to go full time with Precious Impressions, because I don't want to take this next baby to a baby. I don't want to put 2 kids in daycare. And I know it scared him to death, because that was half our income. $35 an hour is not a little income. And
right.
And I know it scared him. And he's like, let's do it. Let's do it. And that's the honest truth. Like, I could never have done what I've done. Like, he held down the fort. I'll tell you what, Pam, I don't know how many nights he came home from McGee's all day, and I handed off the kids and went and did parties. Like,
wow.
So so many nights of heritage makers, and he just tended the kids and tended the kids. You saw him walking around at conventions with all the kids while I was off teaching classes and speaking and doing things with my teams. And you know, I used to say a lot, and I still say this to teams, but it was more in that season, you know, can I get your husbands for 30 minutes? Like, let me get your husbands in a room and let me tell them that if they can support you in this, and if they'll back you for just a little bit, it'll change your whole life. I mean, for us, it ended up being, you know, my husband does not have an ego, and he is the hardest working guy. He is at his business at 6:30 a.m., doesn't come home till 6 or 7 at night, works on the weekends, and because he has his own business too, his business is so important, and I couldn't have done any of those things. I mean, the man does not have an ego. He does not have an ego. He literally is so about, I just can't even say enough about him being my biggest cheerleader, and every single step along the way, every time it was hard, every time I had to come to him and say, okay, I have to borrow this much money to do this, or once I was in, you know, Heritage Makers and direct sales, I'm going to be gone for 4 days to this, or I've got to do this many parties to hit. You know, he's just always been all in. And anyway, thank goodness for that. And I always speak too, like, you know, you and I struggled a little in our first, you know, marriages, but man, we won the lottery. Your Kevin is just like Kyle. He's all in, supportive, and that's been a game changer for me.
Right.
1,000%. So
yes. Well, and I love, you're right. You know, I remember Kyle walking around with kids at convention, and he went on every one of our trips that we earned, that we got to go on together.
Yep.
And he was there, and he'd dress up like, you know, Grease. He's
a fun guy.
You know, all of the things that he did. Yes, he was very supportive, and you know, how lucky are we to have that support in our lives? And I love that you know that you could say to teammates, give me 30 minutes with your husband, because really that is true. If they're on board, it makes a huge difference. So
it makes a huge difference.
Well, tell me, as we kind of finish up here, tell me if you could say one thing to women who are feeling a little bit stuck, because I know with recognizing the seasons in your life and letting go of what doesn't serve you, really listening to what makes your heart happy, what's the one thing that you would say to a woman who's stuck? I know we've talked about, you know, a marriage and divorce and single mom and changing jobs, and, you know, sometimes, I mean, you and I have both had several positions in network marketing or direct sales. You know, there were companies we were with, and there was a time in that point that it didn't serve us. And so all of those are seasons, and we need to not be scared to make that change. So one thing, what would you say to a woman that's listening to this right now that maybe feels stuck in one of those situations?
I would say go somewhere really quiet and get clear on what it is that really makes you happy. Because I think that we spend, especially as women, we spend so much of our time trying to make everybody else happy, trying to make everybody else, you know, meet everyone else's needs, whether it's, you know, our family's needs, our husband's needs, our children's needs. I mean, you and I now, Pam, you said at the beginning of the call, we're at a different season. We are inches away from being empty nesters. We are both, you know, in our late 40s, early 50s-ish area, and, you know, what now? And, you know, the last 6 months, I shared this with you when we were talking privately about, you know, I literally went through kind of a depression for probably about 6 months. I mean, we have 3 daughters and 1 son. My son left, our son left to serve an LDS mission in November, and, you know, so I lost him, at least physically. He's not here.
Right.
You know, and then Lainey's almost to graduate. She's got a year left in high school, and my life has always been so much about I am my kid's mom, like Dr. Laura, right? I'm my kid's mom first. Like, that is who I am. My identity is so wrapped up in being a mom. Yes. And I built my career around it. I built my career on it. I made career decisions because it was all about that for me. And now I have these four beautiful, my two oldest daughters are both empowered, beautiful, married, doing their own thing, focused women that I get to talk to every day, but they don't need me like they did. And, I was basically looking at Kyle and going, you know what? Who am I if I'm not that? Like, what am I going to do now? I can live another 40 years. What am I going to do for the next, what am I going to do? I can't just sit at home and be like, yay, I'm here. If anybody needs me, just hanging out over here. Hello. And it kind of scared me. I mean, if I'm being honest, I feel like we fill our lives with a lot of busyness sometimes so that we don't have to think about anything that we don't want to deal with. And I sat down and actually wrote out what I wanted my life, what I love to do. I love to travel. I want to build another home. I love to learn. I'm interested in some other things. So I made some crazy decisions after Trebless on his mission. I decided to go back to school. So in May, I'm starting the nursing program with my two oldest daughters, by the way. Kaylee and McKenna and I are all going to nursing school together.
So awesome.
I did never think I wanted to be a nurse, but I'm really, really interested in aesthetic nursing. So I want to be able to do injections and maybe even start a men's spa together. So we dreamed a new dream. That would maybe be my piece of advice. Find a new dream. Find a new dream that you can get passionate about. If you've never built a house, maybe you want to build a house. Maybe you want to join a new network marketing company, which I also did, which I wasn't going to ever do again. I also did that a couple months ago. But find things that we're excited about and then let go of things that aren't. I also did a house cleaning, and I resigned from a company I didn't like being in. I let go of some friendships I felt like have been toxic and killing me. I just cleaned house, and it has been the best thing I could have done. You think, oh, that's selfish, I can't think of myself. But the truth is, you'll be a better mom, a better wife, a better friend if you are purposeful and you know what you're doing and excited about, and you found something and you won't lay awake at night wondering, it's scary. Getting older is scary. I think the age that you and I are at, Pam, I think a lot of women, it's terrifying. Okay, what do I do now? My husband has his career. He's been building his career all along. He's doing the best he's ever done.
Right.
Kyle's at the best he's ever done. I mean, he's, his business is doing the best it's ever done. He's at the height of his career. My kids are all raised, and I spend my day hanging out with my dog and walking. What am I doing with my life? I can't work out more than 1 hour a day, and what else am I going to do? So dream a new dream. Find your purpose. Find out what it is. Let go of things that, like you said at the beginning, are not serving you, and listen to your heart. Let your heart tell you what feels good to you. The idea of going back to school scares me, but I'm so excited about it. I'm like, okay, this is a new journey for me. This is a new thing I can accomplish. I just went and clept out of the English thing over at UVU, and I was so intimidated. And then I left, and I'm like, okay, I did that. I can do it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So that would be my advice, is dream a new dream.
I love that. Dream a new dream. And magic happens outside your comfort zone, right? I mean, I'm sure that was a little bit nerve-wracking to go to a college with
hard.
20-year-olds and 19-year-olds and take an exam.
Gosh.
So magic happens outside of our comfort zone. I love that.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I'm so excited for your next journey. I'm excited for you with this season in your life, going to nursing school. And do you know what I hear when you say that? If you could start a spa and, you want to do that's still serving women. You have my whole entire friendship with you, that's what I've watched you do, is mentor, inspire, and serve women. And so that's, I'm just really thrilled that you would spend some time with us today and share your story with us. So I love it. So recognize the season, guys. I was going to say ladies, but even men, right? This could apply to men too.
Yeah.
Recognize your season in life and let go of what doesn't serve you. And we definitely need to make our hearts happy. So I loved your advice. Sit in a quiet place. take some time and figure out what your heart wants, and then go for it, right? Just go for it.
Oh, thanks, Pam. I'm so happy that I got to be on and share with you guys today. I think what you're doing with this podcast, and I always have been so inspired by stories and by other women's experiences, and by listening, I learned so much. Like, listening to you today, you brought out so many points that I'm like, yes, that's exactly how I felt or how I feel, and I think this is an awesome thing you're doing. So I'm so happy I could be a part of it.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Wendy McGee, awesome interview. And if you guys are social media bugs and you don't know who this beautiful woman is, go find her, go follow her, let her inspire you. And Wendy, again, thank you so much for being on today. And the rest of you who are following me, stay tuned, because we'll be interviewing some successful women a couple times a month, and I'm excited to post this. So thanks again, and thanks, Wendy. You have a great day.